Most people who I see who have mental health disruption also have a sleep disorder. Are they mentally disrupted because they're not sleeping, or are they not sleeping because they're mentally disrupted? And I actually believe a lot of it is that if you're not sleeping properly, you do have mental health disruption. And there's a mechanism is that throughout the day, when you use your brain uses energy, and it's through this mechanism where adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, makes a little explosion in your head, and the bond goes off, and that breaking of the bond is what gives your brain the energy that it needs to think, look, speak, reminisce, remember. And so as you build up the energy usage throughout the day, the byproduct of that explosion is a thing called adenosine. So this is a product molecule that builds up in your brain throughout the day. And it's kind of like Mother Nature's dimmer switch. So when you get this build up, it's like, okay, you've been thinking, you've been using your brain too long, it's time to slow down. And we know that product, that adenosine, actually gives you this impending sense of doom. We know this because adenosine is also used as heart medication for tachycardia. And so when the doctor has to administer adenosine, they'll often take the patient's hand and say, don't worry, you are not going to die. It's just this medication. So people think that it's like overwhelming, like the world is about to end. And there's only one way to get rid of that adenosine, and that is through deep, slow wave sleep. It kind of flushes your brain out. So throughout the night, you get these pulsatile movements of cerebral spinal fluid that sort of flushes, like these tubes and cells, and it's kind of like pushes out all of the byproducts and all the buildup. It's all of the gunk. It's kind of like gurning or street sweeping
on your brain.
Yeah, and so if you get to work in the morning and you haven't done that, you haven't cleaned your brain out, you will come into the office, you'll feel overwhelmed, you'll be looking for problems, you'll feel like you don't have the resources for the day, you'll be irritable, you will be reactive, you'll be suspicious, you'll be anxious. And that's no state to be making really good decisions, being creative, being open, collaborative, having psychological safety in your team. And I know I was working with one of the bosses from a big global manufacturing organization, and he says he wakes up in the morning and he looks at his Whoop device, and if he is in the red, meaning he hasn't had enough sleep, he won't have important conversations. He won't have meetings which critical decisions have to be made, because he knows he's in the wrong headspace. And that's why I love measuring sleep, is because we might think that we've had a great sleep and we wake up and we've actually missed out that significant part of our sleep architecture. And we think, we like to post-rationalize. We're like, I feel like crap. It's probably I hate my job. It's probably I hate my boss, my partner, my team. But actually, you've just got a brain full of adenosine and you feel like crap, and you're making it about everything else when you just need a really good, hearty sleep.
It's fascinating, isn't it? And it's just like the body is wild, and it is amazing that it kind of makes sense, right? We would have this almost self-protective mechanism to kind of slow the brain down, right? But at the end of the day, it's like you can't keep going. We need some device to kind of to protect you, right? So you don't kind of overheat or whatever a hard drive. It is interesting. You mentioned Whoop. Like, I'm aware of Whoop, and I think it probably maybe cause and effect. I'm not sure which, but getting the Whoop device is interesting. Like, I would go to bed at 10, wake up at 6, and go, I've had 8 hours sleep. You get the Whoop device, and you kind of realize, hang on, that's actually not true. And some days it is true, but some Whoop will measure how long it takes to get to sleep. It gives you the breakdowns, right, of light sleep and SWS that you mentioned.
Yes, work sleep, yeah.
And it kind of categorizes certain parts into deep sleep, and it gamifies it. And I think that which doesn't get measured doesn't get done, right? And actually starting to, so now it is a matter of, often you've got to be in bed for 8.5 hours to get, 7 hours and 45. Or I think that's so fascinating, the idea of not making, and for those that wear Whoop, they'll kind of know what a red kind of reading is and what a amber and green, but the idea of not making big decisions, just even the idea of putting yourself into the mentality of, okay, I'm not actually going to perform very well today. That's okay, but at least I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
As opposed to just being foggy and grumpy all day, you know?
There is, I mean, like for elite athletes and for people who have no choice, have to perform, I do train on the importance of not getting, not conflating sleep deprivation with sleep deprivation anxiety and giving themselves a double whammy. So I know that negative mental rumination is extremely metabolically expensive. So if you wake up, so there's a lot of athletes that don't like looking at their metrics because they get so frothed up about it and they get worried about it. Where, okay, you have to understand that if you have one night of bad sleep, that if you're a fit and relatively healthy adult, you're going to be totally fine. You not having sleep, then overlaying sleep deprivation, anxiety on top of that is conflating it will actually create more negative outcomes than if you just go, you know what, I feel actually pretty good, and you look for evidence that you feel very good. And so you have to be very careful. I mean, sleep deprivation, second night, third night, then you're running into significant trouble and you will not be making decisions. You'll be reactive. Your risk-taking profile will change dramatically. There is decrements, but one night you've got to understand you're going to be fine, and you don't get anxious or neurotic about it. But yeah, just